Well, in this election, in a sense, in terms of the two major parties, Trump is not an option. What do you do?
Yeah.
What? Let's
Well,
talk
Trump
about
for
you.
a while there,
Hmm.
Trump was. I mean, this there was something interesting about Trump before the wheels came off. And what was interesting about him was that in his twisted, sort of upside down way, he was offering a lot of these people somewhere else to go. Right?
Hmm.
All of his raving about the trade agreements. Now, uh, Trump is a fool and
Hmm.
a dangerous man, and it's all come apart for him now. But you can easily see how, in different hands, the hands of someone who's like sane, that strategy uh, could work
Hmm.
against the Democrats for the Republicans. I mean, look, this is what's the matter with Kansas is all about. It's been working in certain circumstances for years and years and years. They don't know the Republicans don't offer these disgruntled white working class people very much,
Right.
right? They don't certainly nothing tangible, but they do offer them the culture wars.
Yeah. Yeah.
They do give them that.
Yeah.
And they do, rant and rave about Hollywood and big government and all of this kind of crap, and talk about your guns and all this sort of thing, and they do give them that.
Yeah. Well, so
But yeah,
in the absence of that, right? So now you don't have Trump anymore being, even if for a fleeting moment he was an option, he's becoming even less so as the hours
yeah.
tick by. What do you
I know.
you know,
It's like every time I turn on the computer, every time I fire up the,
it's something else.
one of these news sites, yes,
Yeah, he can't.
literally every day he's done some new outrage.
He seems to find a way to outdo himself every single day, every single hour. So let me ask you then, in terms of that concept of there's nowhere else to go, what do you say to people who want to vote for Jill Stein, third party, in context of this two-party system and the idea that that may chip away and actually help Hillary Clinton? What do you, I mean, not Hillary Clinton, but Donald Trump. What are your thoughts in
Yeah.
that calculus?
Well, I'm always, I love third party movements. So this is one of my things. Um, I started out in life, I come from Kansas, and we had a third party movement there in the 1890s called populism. It was a left wing, it was a farmer labor kind of movement. They actually had it all over the South, all over the West. It was all over the place except for in the East. And they took over the state in Kansas for a while there, and it really scared the people who own Kansas, the Republican Party.
Hmm.
And so and populism did this all over the place. By the way, it's a fascinating history, and it's actually still very controversial. You still read all kinds of crap about it, that people get the story wrong in all sorts of ways. But it was a fascinating time. But they used an electoral technique called fusion. You've probably heard of this,
Mm.
where they would basically gang up with one of the other two major parties. So in the South, they would align with the Republican Party. This is in the 1890s. The Republican Party was very small in the South back then. And in the North and in Kansas, they would align with the local Democratic Party
Okay.
to team up against the local dominant party. Anyhow, that was called fusion voting. As soon as the populists had been clubbed down, they made this illegal in all of these states. Illegal. And that ended third parties as a sort of viable tradition in America. You just don't see them popping up after that. You have various efforts by prominent individuals to run for the presidency,
Right.
like La Follette, or what
Ross
was the guy,
Perot.
the billionaire?
Ross
Ross
Perot.
Perot,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, yeah, or Ralph Nader,
Hmm.
various prominent individuals running for the presidency, but nobody tries to build a third party after that from the bottom up, or people try, they don't succeed. I would love to see that happen again. I just don't think it's possible without a change in the laws. I mean, there has never been a time when I thought the two-party system was more discredited
Yeah.
than right now.
Yeah.
It's loathsome what is going on this year. And this is a year that started out with such promise. I was so proud of Bernie Sanders, of the things he was saying and how he had broken through in a way that nobody has done in a long time. Looked like it was going to be a great year, and now, ooh, ew.
Yeah.
Ew, just every time I turn on the computer, it's something awful. But look, in general, I love the idea of third parties, but they have the eternal problem with third parties is the spoiler problem, that you don't want to vote for the candidate who really shares your views, because then you will, you don't want to vote for, let's say in the year 2000, you don't want to vote for Nader because then you're afraid that Al Gore will lose or something like that.
Right.
And this is a very reasonable fear, and it makes it impossible to build, very, very difficult to build a third party movement. But fusion voting solved that problem, and it would be nice to see that come back. If we could solve that problem, then I would be really into third parties. I'd go out and work for them. I'd do all sorts of things. Although I shouldn't say that. There's a lot of Democrats out there that I really like.
Yeah. So tell me, and I know, we're coming up at the top of the hour, but I want to get a couple more questions in. What are your thoughts about Jill Stein then? Where do you stand? And, as much as you can discuss it, what are your thoughts about Jill?
She seems like a good person. I haven't studied her or anything like that. As a writer and as a journalist, I've really been focusing on the two big parties so far. But she seems like a good person. Look, if Hillary is miles and miles ahead, that also solves the spoiler problem.
Yep.
You don't have to worry about that anymore if she's going to win in every state or something.
Yeah. Yeah, that was my thought exactly, right? So she should be, after today's shenanigans, Hillary should be beating with the Second Amendment thing that Donald Trump did today.
Yeah, I saw that.
Hillary.
It's like, what is wrong with this man?
We're trying to figure that out. I'll be honest with you. Hillary should be beating him by 15 points at this point. So I think people should be able to, particularly in definitely in safe states, quote unquote safe states, should be able to feel free to not have that spoiler problem.